Good evening and welcome to today's Tropics for July 9th, 2020. Please note I'm not a meteorologist and this video is just a collection of my thoughts and opinions about the storm I'm talking about. And for any decision making, please consult the National Hurricane Center or your local officials. So today I'm looking at Tropical Storm Faye. It was Invest 98L until just earlier when the recon mission that was in there earlier after a few passes, found a sufficiently closed circulation for it to be a tropical cyclone, and with the winds, therefore, Tropical Storm Faye. So you've got the low level center around here. It's near the edge of the convection due to some moderate shear, and it's also in the larger elliptical rotation here. As you can see, that's all the way down to to east of Wilmington, North Carolina, and we did see a mesovortex try to become dominant here, but had no convection, so it's pretty much gone. And this general envelope here is going to cause the track to maybe become a little bit erratic, because this will also be spinning around, and it might cause a bit movement a bit to the east. Looking at the water vapor here, you can see why there's some shear. That's because the upper ridge here is a bit more negatively tilted now. As you can see, it goes like this, and that means you have an upper trough that's generally flows like this, meets up with it here, and as a result, you have westerly winds pushing into the convective region, and that is shearing it just a little so that the low-level center and the mid-level center are slightly displaced from each other, and you do have the low-level center not quite centered on the convection, and as a result, Faye is a bit east-weighted at the moment. Looking at the latest GFS run, we can see some of the features that are going to be influencing the track of Faye. One of which is a trough that's coming into the upper Midwest at the moment. This is valid actually about 45 minutes from when I'm recording. Then you also have this ridge trying to become a bit more dominant to the east, and that is meaning that an exit to the east or northeast at least that you tend to see with storms at this latitude, such as what happened with, say, Dolly or Edward just earlier this month or in late June. So that is not going to happen this time. And you can also see this large area of vorticity, and that's where Faye is embedded in. And we'll see that continue. So this trough will come into. So this is valid about 24 hours from now. So this is late Friday, about 8 o'clock Friday evening Eastern time, and you see that it looks likely that this trough will come down and amplify a little, and that will cause the ridge to the east to also amplify a bit. So you're going to have this generally east-northeasterly or north-northeasterly flow instead of your usual east-northeast or northeasterly flow, and that will likely steer Faye into the coast somewhere around, or depending on little movements, it might be, say, New Jersey or a bit further to the east. The GFS here has a vortex in Pennsylvania. It seems if this is indeed Faye, it might be a little west biased, as the National Hurricane Center has remarked. It does look like it'll make landfall around this area. And then looking at the precipitable water here, this is going to be one of the impacts that is coming to the northeast. And you see that there's very high values around here. So this bubble coming up has values in excess of 2 inches of precipitable water. So that is very moist tropical air coming in, and that will cause heavy rain and some thunderstorms that could cause some flash flooding in the especially heavy ones that occur. And you can see that as Faye moves to the north, you're going to have this fire hose especially on the east side with this fetch from the Bahamas and Florida coming up to the north and hitting the northeast with that very moist air that could cause some thunderstorms again and heavy rain. Uh, Luckily for some of the mid-Atlantic, it'll end by then, basically. And looking at uh, the official National Hurricane Center cone, you can one thing that's pretty obvious pretty quickly is this bubble of tropical storm force winds. It is the X, which is the center of the storm, is on the very western side of that, and that's because of that light shear, and it's basically keeping that convection, a stronger wind to the east, which is good for a lot of the mid-Atlantic here because given that fate is expected to keep a bit to the east of this area, that means the east-weighted storm is not going to cause very strong wind, at least in this region. Fortunately for New Jersey, Connecticut, and Long Island, it will likely come inland here, and that means that these areas might experience some tropical storm force winds and maybe some slightly stronger gusts with thunderstorms that occasionally hit. So it does look like the main issues will be heavy rain. These are the key messages from the National Hurricane Center slash National Weather Service. And yeah, it just looks like we're going to see generally heavy, widespread rain, but you'll have isolated areas where thunderstorms, either train or just heavy ones, hit an area, and that could cause flash flooding. So be prepared for some possible flooding if you're in this general area. And also for these areas in blue, they have tropical storm warnings, so they might experience strong winds and especially, again, in thunderstorms that could bring some gustier winds to the surface at times. Otherwise, there isn't too much going on in the tropics. Basically, same as yesterday. You have two systems in the East Pacific that aren't expected to really hit land, and also one in the Arabian Sea. Otherwise, if you have any questions or comments about my video, please let me know, and thanks for watching.